The return of the Shadow King. The Egyptian desert was a sea of gold beneath the burning sun. Sandstorms slithered across the dunes like restless spirits, whispering ancient secrets. Local Bedouins often spoke of a cursed valley, Wadi al-Maut, the Valley of Death. For 20 years he had traveled the world chasing legends, and now he believed he had finally found it. Rain hammered against the canvas tent as Caldwell carefully brushed centuries of dust from the ancient tablet. "What does it say?" Miriam asked, her voice a mixture of fascination and caution. "It's a warning," he whispered. "It says, 'May the shadows consume those who disturb the king who walks beyond death.'" "Not this one," Caldwell murmured. "Look here." We leave at dawn. Outside, in the flickering storm, a pair of eyes watched their camp from the darkness. The next morning, the trio set out with a small caravan of camels and supplies. "My people say no man who walks into that valley returns." By sunset, they reached a narrow gorge of jagged black rocks. The moment they stepped inside, the air turned unnaturally cold. "They're too sharp, too perfect, almost like," she hesitated, "like they were seared with heat." "I found something!" The explorers rushed forward and gasped. Hours passed as they cleared sand and chipped away at the resin. Finally, with one last heave, the stone door cracked open. A rush of air blasted outward, air that had been trapped for 3 millennia. The lanterns flickered violently. "It smells like sulfur." Caldwell stepped inside. And at the center of the chamber stood a stone sarcophagus carved from obsidian, its surface shimmering like frozen night. Charles stepped back. "John, maybe we shouldn't." The lid snapped open. Inside the sarcophagus was no mummy, no bones, only a black shroud, and beneath it, the faint outline of a human shape. That night, they camped outside the tomb. No one could sleep. Around midnight, Charles unzipped his tent and stepped outside to get some water. He never came back. By dawn, his footprints ended abruptly at the mouth of the gorge, as if he had been lifted into the sky. "To what?" she snapped. "Being the next disappearance?" Hassan's camel screamed and bolted into the desert. Hassan himself fell to his knees, muttering prayers. A chorus of spirits rising from the abyss. Miriam grabbed Caldwell's arm. "We are not going back in there." But Caldwell tore free. "I have waited my entire life for this discovery." He ran into the tomb. Miriam's scream echoed across the valley. Inside the tomb, Caldwell descended a staircase he had not noticed before. It led to a hidden chamber, lit by an eerie blue glow. In the center stood a tall, thin figure wrapped in a rotting cloak, its face hidden beneath a golden mask of a pharaoh. "I am the ruler of the realm between life and death. For 3,000 years, I have waited for the seal to break." Caldwell screamed as shadowy tendrils shot from the floor, wrapping around his legs, pulling him toward the ritual circle. Her lantern shattered on the ground, spilling flame. The shadows recoiled from the fire. With a final burst of adrenaline, Miriam dragged Caldwell free, and they sprinted toward the exit just as the chamber collapsed in a thunderous roar. Then she realized Caldwell wasn't breathing. Charles's journal pages scattered, covered in strange black handprints. Months later, in a sterile, modern hospital room, Miriam tried to forget the desert, but the shadows never truly leave those who have seen them. She bolted upright. Standing outside the glass, blotting out the city lights, was a tall figure draped in black. The golden mask, ancient and grinning, reflected the faint hospital light back at her. Weeks later, archaeologists returned to the Valley of Death to search for the lost tomb. They found nothing. A local shepherd claimed he saw a tall figure wrapped in tattered cloth, wandering the dunes at night. And in Cairo, Miriam, now recovered, received a package with no return address. Inside was a single black shroud, and a note written in a hand she recognized all too well. "I walk again." She dropped the package, trembling. Outside her window, a tall silhouette stood in the streetlight, unmoving, watching her room. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, he was gone. But the whisper remained, drifting through the air like a cold breeze. "The king who refused to die has risen." The curse had left the tomb, and it was now roaming the world.